All right, Victarion Greyjoy. I would like to. All right, so we'll do his summary. So his POV starts in Feast for Crows. He's he's actually like seventh of nine kids. Fun fact, because Balon is like fifth of nine kids, and there were four older brothers who died or something. And he is an idiot, like a useless, weirdly romantic, horrible person, and an idiot. And he wants to be king. He's just taken Moat Cailin. They have the King's Moot. Aisha offers him a deal in which she'll be his hand, essentially, and he will rule. And it would have made sure that Euron wasn't in charge. But he refuses because he's a misogynist and an idiot. Really can't emphasize that enough. Euron's put in charge. Euron cleverly separates away Victarion's key guys, and Victarion somehow doesn't see it coming. Then he gets sent on a wild goose chase to go get Dany, decides, I'm going to marry her. Euron will never see that coming. Obviously, Euron saw that coming and has some kind of plan for it. And then they make it across the ocean. They pick up Makoro, who is a priest, a red priest in the ocean. Makoro heals a wound of his. He becomes kind of half zombie. And he and Makoro become best buddies, even though everybody else hates him. And then they take some slave ships, free a few slaves, murder a few slaves. And that's the whole... Like, I could go into more detail, but...
I like to defend a chance to defend Victarion.
On what grounds?
Okay, I don't think he's a total idiot because he is able to read Euron's plans, right? I mean, when Euron was giving the Shield Islands to all the second-in-commands like Newt the Barber and one of the Hardlaws and everything, he read it quickly that this was his plans to cause a difference between the Lord and their seconds. And
yeah, but not quickly enough to actually do...
Yeah.
I mean, could he not have predicted? I mean, there's no point in being able to read it. Like, when I'm being defeated,
no,
and I
he's
can
not
tell
smart. He's not Littlefinger, obviously, but he's not dumb. And about his attitude towards women and stuff like that, I think it's just his. That's where he was born. That's the culture.
He is much worse than the culture.
Let me just stop here. Can we just take a lemon cake vote for all the people on this call to say, on a scale of 0 to 5 lemon cakes of dumbness, 0 being really smart and 5 being really dumb. How dumb do you think Victarion is? I'm going 5 lemon cakes. Lee?
4.5.
Nadia?
Can we go 6?
Oh, Vikram.
I would say 2.5. He's not the smartest guy, but he's not the dumbest guy either. I mean, how about his plan this? So when he was given 90 ships and asked to go to the other side of the world to get Dany, he smartly divides it up so that the fleet stays together for the most part. And obviously that it didn't go so well. Only 54 ships made it at the other side. But that's actually good. A good admiral.
He's not.
No, he's a capable commander.
Yeah.
He's
capable.
He's a really capable admiral, but he sucks at everything else.
Yeah.
What about when he's fighting that guy and then he catches the sword with his hand? Like, who does that?
I will say. Wait, there's one thing that has to be said for Victarion Greyjoy, which is that for all that he is arguably the worst, I would argue he's one of the worst people in the series, because even worse than the really crazy people, because at least someone like Ramsay or Joffrey like enjoys suffering. Victarion is just this boring, selfish idiot who just murders people because like they're in his way, and then he whines about how it's an inconvenience. But I will say he is kind of badass despite all of that.
Exactly. I find Victarion
chapters
were
he's a dumbass.
I find that Victarion's chapters were written very funnily. He's like a funny character. Like his third chapter was all about the monkeys throwing their feces at him and things like that. I mean, he was complaining about monkeys. That was so funny.
I mean, Bina, I stand by him being dumb. I just also think that anyone crazy enough to fight in plate armor on a boat and catch a sword in his hand, like, that doesn't argue well for his intelligence, but it is really cool.
Vikram, if you think he's a 2.5 on the lemon cake scale of dumbness, which POV character do you think is dumber than Victarion?
Quentin.
No.
Come on, Quentin is definitely dumber. He thought he could tame a dragon.
He has
Targaryen.
Targaryen.
He's like 100 Targaryen. It's like I'm more Cherokee than he's Targaryen.
Victarion thinks he can tame a dragon. Victarion's planning on
that-
taming a dragon,
Yeah, but he
marrying
has a
Dany,
plan.
and he trusts Makoro. Those are all insane.
Oh, okay. Makoro is a good guy because Benero is the head of the Red Priest, right? Benero is in charge of the Red Religion, and Makaro was his right hand. And I think here was the thing. Victarion, I think Euron did something to the dragon horn. He somehow bound the dragon horn to himself. When Makaro reads the dragon horn, right, the glyphs on the dragon horn, he says the hornblower doesn't have to be the owner of the dragons. And I think that's what Victarion was counting on. He gave him a horn which he was the owner of. So when somebody blows it, he gets the dragons, and Victarion will die. And he did not rely upon. He did not think that Victarion was going to find a red priest on the way who happens to read Valerian glyphs and who can perform
sorry,
this
Vic, I've got to
ritual.
stop you. I've got to
No,
stop you.
that's crazy.
Do you really think in the relationship between Makoro and Victarion, and admittedly, Victarion's smart enough to realize that Euron gives him poison gifts, and yet, number one, he doesn't have the intelligence to throw the dusky woman overboard, and two, he gets this red priest who tells him, yeah, well, most mortal people when they blow this horn are going to die, but I can give you a magic kind of like get around. Does he?
The people
He's
will still
totally
die,
enthralled
but
to Makoro. Victarion is just a puppet.
Come
Either
on,
through
Makaro
black
helped
magic
him
and
out.
after Euron or
He
to
went from
Makoro.
54 ships to 160 ships because Makaro was able to see the Night Flame and recruit him. I'm on Makaro's side here.
Oh, I'm on Makoro's side too, but Makoro's absolutely going to betray Victarion.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's completely using him. I mean, he keeps saying, "Oh yes, I see you in the final end game," and yada yada yada. But it's clear that he sees Victarion at the end as a sacrifice.
Then I can make the same case for Melisande and Stannis too. Melisande is using Stannis, just as Makaro is using Victarion. Then
No, we've
agree
had a
with-
Melisandre point of view. Like, I don't want to get into her too much because I'm sure someone else will want to do that on that FeastDance episode. But like, at least Mel honestly believes Stannis is the Messiah.
Yeah,
Makoro
we can
keeps
never
saying
do
Yes,
to
she
that.
does.
Victarion, like, he literally keeps saying, "You will get what you deserve." That
Melisandre may use Stannis in some respect, but she honestly believes that she is at the service of
exactly.
this prophesied being. And Makoro plays Victarion like a puppet on a string. But also, like we're all laughing at this guy, Victarion. But let's not forget, he does really horrible shit.
Oh,
When
he's
people
awful.
say stuff that he doesn't agree with, he throws them overboard. He sacrifices these girls. He makes this big play that he's freeing slaves, like Dany free slaves, and then orders them to row for him because that's a privilege. He frees the whores and says, "Oh, well, you're really lucky now. You're only going to have to sleep with one guy." The guy is completely mental.
No,
And
he's
the most
awful.
creepy, urine type thing that he does is when Arsha says, let's really sensibly, Arsha says, look, I don't have the support because I'm a woman. You don't have the support because you're younger than Euron, you haven't done as much. Let's team up against Euron and let's share power and I'll just be your hands. I'll be subordinate to you. And he says no. Immediately he interprets it as, oh, maybe she wants to marry me and gets a hard on. I mean, this guy is seriously creepy.
He's
no,
awful.
I don't think he wanted to marry her because he
No,
did.
he got turned on by
Yes,
it
he
though.
does.
No.
He doesn't want to marry her, but he thinks for this stupid, idiotic, creepy minute that she, his niece, let's remember, he interprets her saying let's share power immediately. His gut instinct is she wants to marry me. He, quote, looks at her in a way he's never looked at her before and gets her out. I mean, the
That's
guy
because
is a complete douchebag.
He's arguably the most misogynistic person in Westeros.
Agreed.
Shanti Collins says this, and it's really stuck with me. And it's like, I sort of said it before, but he's the worst. He's the worst because, like, at least a lot of the other people hate you and or like when they torture you, they give you agency by torturing you. They're like, you're a person and they're taking pleasure from taking away your personhood. Victarion just he just winds his way through the world. He just mopes. And everybody's either like coming on to him or in love with him or is useless and he murders them. Like he just has he's just a child. He is
But I think
whiny,
The
that's
whole
spoiled child.
that's the culture, right? I mean, he values honor, he values bravery. So when he kills that knight, the Southern Shield guy, Tally Herbert or somebody, and then when he ends up at the hall and they were abusing his wife, he said they don't deserve that. Her husband died honorably. So he has his own set of moral compass, But it's just the
That is not a
Ironborn are
moral
so
compass.
different from the rest of the Westerosi.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
mean,
I think
you're
what's
right, Vikram. He's completely without self-awareness. When he frees the slaves and then tells them to row because many Ironborn would think that an honor, in his own mind, he's a great and moral and liberating man.
That's what makes him
makes
the
his-
worst.
Yeah, that's what makes his situation even more tragic. He doesn't even have the intelligence and self-awareness of someone like a Bolton to realize that what he's
Right.
doing is evil.
At least when Euron like makes you slave row for him, he's like, haha, you're a slave. I'm taking away your freedom. Victarion's like,
Exactly.
you're welcome. You should be so grateful.
the whole story about Victarion and Euron and Victarion's salt wife, though, I just don't understand what happened there.
Oh, what happened is it's his third wife. Oh, you're asking, yeah, his wife. It's his third wife. His first one died in childbirth. His second one also maybe died in childbirth. He has no kids. He marries this third one, and she's a salt wife, but he kind of loves her in his own limited way, which probably means he finds her attractive. Doesn't really matter. And Euron gets her pregnant. So he beats her to death, and the whole time that he is smashing her face in, he's thinking, oh, poor me.
In defense, he only killed his wife after Balon said that he couldn't kill Euron because that would be kinslaying. So his first preference was to kill Euron, but because he was denied Euron, he killed his wife.
I think his
So
first
that's my
instinct was
defense
to
of
kill.
him.
I think his first instinct was to kill both of them and to kill Euron before he killed the wife, so that Euron didn't see it coming. I don't think it was like, oh, I guess I can't kill my brother. I'll just kill her instead because she.
Yeah,
was
I think he
in this.
pounded the wife's brains out and then was brought up by
Yeah,
Balon,
that's-
I'm told.
That's interesting, right? Killing your brother is kinslaying, but killing your wife is not kinslaying. I'm like, isn't your wife a part of your family?
Yeah, but she
But
betrayed
she had
him
put
by
horns
sleeping with
on
his
him and
brother.
made him a cookhold, right? I mean, that whole thing is weird. It's kind of like whenever he describes it, he acknowledges the possibility that she was raped and yet still blames her for making him a cuckold and is going to bash her brains out anyway. I mean, there is a lot of sexual violence in A Song of Ice and Fire, and I think this example is one of the worst. It really is.
Yeah, he's terrible. There is no redeeming quality to him, other than the fact that he's a really good sword fighter, and that's not a really That's not like a strong redeeming quality.
But he's not a good sword fighter when someone attacks you and you grab their sword.
I didn't say
Duck or
smart,
something,
but
come
he
on.
did.
It's like the TV show episode where Khal Drogo like catches the Arak on his chest, just like, ooh, I'm so hard. This doesn't hurt at all, and then it killed him. Like idiots.
At least he's jacked, though.
Yeah, but how about that whole Victarion thing with or that maester that's forced to go aboard?
Kerwin? Oh yeah, Kerwin keeps getting raped by the men on the ship, and he's just like, well, stand up for yourself. God, I hate you so much. Why are you whining to me about your problems?
Here's a knife, God.
I often
And
feel
then he
like
kills him.
George R. R. Martin is satirizing dumb jocks with Victarion. Like, I wonder if in school George R. R. Martin was like picked on by dumb jocks.
I'm certain he was picked on.
But okay, let's do crackpot theories. Who do you think the dusky lady is?
The
Oh,
only
no.
clue we have there's something up with her is when she hisses at Makaro, Otherwise, I think it might be just his. It might be a double deuce. I think just because Euron knows that Victarion thinks his gifts are poisoned, he intentionally gave a proper gift just so
To confuse him.
to confuse him. Wait a minute, wasn't she supposed to be poisoned?
So, who do you think she is, Jessica? Any theories?
I don't have any theories, but I find it unusual that she actually seems to have some sort of affection for him. I don't know, like I was reading a chapter the other day and she like smiles when he comes in and like she's happy to see him until she sees Makoro. But like she seems to like Victarion, but I don't know whether that's sort of Stockholm syndrome, like
To be
she's trying
fair,
to
that's
yeah.
through Victarion's point of view.
Yeah.
No
But-
one's going to say he's bright enough to read people that well.
There's a line that Mokoro uses where he's looking into his red fires and he sees that Victarion is bound by black strings as if he's being played as a puppet. And so there are crackpot theories that she is either some kind of sort of familiar through which Euron with his black magic can observe what Victarion is up to, or in the most extreme version of crackpot theories. And I should emphasize, while I believe that Quentin's alive, I don't believe this one, that Euron is some kind of faceless man and that it's actually Euron.
That's
So
horrifying.
yeah, I feel like if there was some magic with the Dusky Woman, Makaro would have been able to spot that.
But I'm sure he could, but would he?
I think he needs Victarion. I think he needs Victarion to take him to Dany, right?
But he's going to do that no matter what. All Makoro's
if it
got to
is
do
Euron,
is be kind of awesome.
yeah, but if it was Euron, I mean, Victarion was originally going to chuck her over the side of the boat. So it's pretty risky for Euron to bank on Victarion being too lazy to do that.
I mean, if Victarion
Ah,
wanted
but-
to go to, Euron wanted to go to Marine, he would have just gone himself. He wouldn't have sent Victarion in his stead, right?
No, the
I
whole
think-
point is that he needs to rule in the Iron Islands and do what he needs to do in Westeros. But he also needs someone to go with this dragonhorn and get the dragon. So he sends Victarion, but he also doesn't trust Victarion because, you know, Victarion, as dumb as he is like, right, I'm going to marry her myself. And Euron's not stupid, so he knows it. But he needs to kind of monitor and control him. And the idea is that this mute woman, there's no chance that Victarion will ever throw her overboard, even if that's his instinct, because somehow Victarion has been bound through her, or that she's exerting some kind of, you know, she's like the kind of the proxy Wi-Fi emitter for whatever black magic Euron has going on.
I think the Maester was sent for that purpose. They sent the Maester and a bunch of birds with him so the Maester could ride them back and tell them of their progress. I
But
think that
Victarion
was his-
doesn't allow him to.
Right,
to
exactly. He throws him off the boat.
So
No,
who do you think poisoned Victarion's hand? Do you think that's the Dusky Woman?
So yeah, I first of all, I don't think Euron is that smart. I think one example they gave was Euron did find a dragon egg. He did hire a sorcerer to hatch the egg, and he gave the sorcerer a year. But then within 6 months, the egg wasn't hatched, so he threw the sorcerer away, and the sorcerer was like, "But you said a year. It's only been 6 months." So I don't think Euron is that smart. He's a bit impulsive, you know.
But do you
he's a
believe that?
Greyjoy. Yeah, I think so. You know, he's a
It's-
Greyjoy. How smart are Greyjoys?
It's starting to appear that Balon was the smart Greyjoy, and that's very upsetting to me.
I find it so stupid that someone would throw a dragon's egg overboard that I actually don't believe he did it. But I have
Yeah,
no
that's
proof.
what I thought. Yeah.
Okay, about the poisoning thing, yeah, that is the very, I don't know what, I think it just happened. I think it just was a wound that festered. I don't think Euron would have intentionally had the Dusky Woman had Victarion poison because he needed Victarion to complete the mission. So why would he sabotage his own mission? It could have been the Maester because the Maester was being ill-treated, so he thought, you know, this was his way.
But didn't Victarion just treat it himself? I mean, he didn't even do anything. He just put some vinegar on it and a bandage.
Right. I mean, he had the Dusky Woman do the boiled vinegar thing. Then the Maester would come in and, extract the pus and things like that.
But that was after it got infected. When he got wounded, he didn't really care for it, and it might have gotten infected then.
Because he's dumb.
So he's dumb. Exactly that. That was my point. He's dumb.
Yeah.
Which
he
is
doesn't
why
get
it got
looked at.
infected.
In the time
know how
that we
this-
see him in A Feast for Crows, he doesn't get his hand looked at. It's only afterwards, once he's on the ship and on his way to Dany,
And
that he goes, "Oh, maybe I'll pour some wine on it now."
No. I think he
And ship
bandaged.
conditions are probably not very hygienic, right?
No.
Right.
After the Battle of the South Shield was over, he did come down. The Dusky Woman did bandage it up. I think that was the first time we kind of meet the Dusky Woman. So he did bandage it up. So either the Dusky Woman kind of poisoned him then, Or well, wait a minute. Victarion offered him Shadow Wine, right? From
Oh, Euron, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, Euron, sorry.
honestly, it's like a Middle Ages injury. Like the best case scenario, they cleaned it out with like boiling wine and wrapped it, and you can still get infected without antibiotics or sulfa powder or something. Like no matter, even if with no foul play, it's perfectly possible, even likely.
I love how Victarion thinks, oh, that guy must have poisoned his sword.
Yeah,
Like, really? You really think that was his plan? to kill you? Yeah, okay.
You
And
know
there's
how the
also
subtitle, sorry, you know how the subtitle of this podcast is like all roads lead to Essox? With Victarion, I feel it's like all roads lead to dumb. Whatever
Yeah.
explanation.
he's like
all roads lead to dumb as the answer.
he's so self-centered. He's like, all right, so one of my little cousins, like when he was, a little kid, once walked into a sign and goes, why would they put a sign where I would walk into it? And I'm like, that's Victarion's whole life. He walks into a sign and thinks that it was put there for him to walk into. Victarion has the intelligence of a 4-year-old.
Oh, it's true. So true.
I think you will always change your mind. I think Victarion will become the new Jamie.
Maybe he
No.
will. Maybe he will, Vic.
Yeah,
And
you'll all be like, oh, Victarion is such a good guy.
I will
You know
I will
what?
come to you on
if
bended knee.
exactly. If after the Winds of Winter we think Victarion is new Jamie, then we should have another podcast with the same people on it, and we should all just apologize to you hugely. We've just
You know,
rinsed
I-
you
I don't
in
think
the
we'll
most
need to.
uncompromising manner, and I feel really bad about it.
I'm kidding. I realize he's a bad character, but I think there are much worse people in this book, and Victarion is bad. If Victarion was born as a Tyrell or a Baratheon, he would be totally different.
But I ask you once again, Vic, who's dumber?
Jon Snow?
No.
Hang on, no, Jon
Okay,
Snow's
Cersei.
dumber, so he
Cersei is the
doesn't have the
dumbest one.
experience.
Actually, yes, Cersei might be dumber.
Okay. At least I got one right.
Oh dear, I feel we've roasted Victarion enough. It's like taking candy
Yeah.
from a baby.
I had one other thing to say from the Victarion read, which is my favorite crack theory about the Red Priests and Makoro and Mel, which is essentially that they are fire whites.
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's in the ocean for 11 days, and he gets out and he's just like, it's cool, bro, I'm fine.
And exactly on the other side, Melisande can go without eating or sleeping, so she exhibits the same symptoms as Makaro.
Yeah, I'm certain that they are like magic dead people, sort of.
I actually think they're proper Valerians. Whatever happened during the Doom, these people survived.
Possible, or at
That's
least the
not even
magic.
cracked one, is it? I mean, that's kind of fairly commonly believed that Melisandre's super old and like glamoring herself, and that these guys are kind of the other in a way.
Yeah, people like Merino is also probably somebody exactly like Melisande and Makaro.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one, totally. I've got an interesting Melisandre related question. In the course of this book, it becomes apparent that the Red Priests, specifically when they go to Volantis, are very popular with the poor people and are declaring, or not declaring for Dany, but that they support Dany because she frees slaves and they're down with that. What would happen hypothetically if the Red Order, so to say, declared for Dany or sided with Dany? Would Melisandre then be forced to abandon the Order? Or...
No, she's definitely not. We've been told in an interview, this is a spoiler for those of you who don't like interviews with George, that she is not on an official mission. She's not a. I don't think she's a renegade in the sense that she's like, ooh, I'm like doing things I've been explicitly told not to. But I think she just kind of pieced out and found Stannis. She's not there because like Bonero sent her.
But isn't there a point in one of the Victarion chapters where Bonero, they do hint that they think that Dany's everything that Melisandre believes of Stannis. So isn't there going to be a conflict at some point?
I think the Red Religion's mission at the moment is to somehow acquire dragons. I mean, she's always like, oh, let's sacrifice this guy, let's sacrifice that guy. And here's Makaro heading to Dany. I think they were just given missions, somehow get your hands on dragons and keep them under our control or something.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I also another thing that kind of connects the red religion with Valerian is just like the Valerians use obsidian candles to communicate. We see that in the Sam chapter, the last Sam chapter. How was it? Who was Marvin the
Marvin.
Mage? Yeah, Marvin the Mage kind of heard the entire conversation the Spinks and Sam were having through the candles. Somehow the red flames, the night flames, somehow instruct the red priest on what to do next.
It's all definitely Valyrian magic, which
It's,
is cool.
but do we know when this religion originated? I mean, was it from before Valyria or after Valyria?
I don't know. We know the head temple's in Volantis, which would imply it's post Valyria, especially because of its
Hmm.
like slave freeing stuff. I don't think the Valyrians would like that.
But they have slaves.
Hmm.
Exactly. I'm saying it's all about like
Hmm.
they buy slaves and then give them like, all right, it's not slave
And they
freeing.
make them priests.
It's definitely like a poor man's religion, and I don't think the Valyrians would have approved of it.